want to buy your first house, but things have just gone totally pear-shaped. You have maxed out your store cards, you have bought all the stuff, you're not earning enough money, and you just think you're never ever going to make it. Now, let me tell you, I am proof of someone who had lots of debt, lots of bad debt, and I had to find a way to make it disappear. So I'm here today to help you understand that debt is a lifesaver because debt helps us take stock of ourselves. It helps us see how we are managing our money, and it also helps us to understand our relationship with money because we either have an overspending problem and we're buying things that we don't need. We just want the stuff because we want to fit in with everybody else. That was me. That was me. Or we just don't have enough income, and so our money couldn't stretch, or it can't stretch to cover all our debts. And so we caught in this whole trap of having so much debt and not being able to do much. And of course, we will lose our minds. Of course, we will become depressed, traumatized, because who wants to live like that? But let me tell you now today, if you put your mind to it, you can get out of that situation. It all requires a mind shift. You must tell yourself, I have been very reckless with my money. I have no idea of how to budget. I have no idea how to use my money. And so I've been spending it in areas where I've just been wasteful. And now that I want to really knuckle down and start using my money to work for me, I can't do that. So that is what we're going to discuss today. That no matter how bad your credit score is, no matter how much debt you have, you can overcome that temporary setback. It's not forever. It will take time, but it's not forever. So I'm Sharon, and today we're talking about my own story of how I was caught in debt, and then, of course, how I managed to get out of it so that you can be inspired to do the same. Like I said, I was also there where you were. I started working. I think in many cases, us that come from very poor backgrounds, once we have money and then we start spending and we want to buy things that we couldn't really afford when we were younger, right? I was there. When I started working, I opened a Truworths account, I opened the Edgar's account, and then I was shopping till I dropped because I needed winter clothes, and then I needed spring clothes, and then I needed summer clothes, then I needed this shoe and that shoe and so forth. Made myself a victim, and so I maxed out my cards, right? And so, of course, when we were married, we also had another card, which I found very useful until we realized that we can't do without the card. Now, I don't know, perhaps your parents will know, but there was a Cape Consumers card, a buy aid card. It operates like a credit card, right? So you can do all your shopping on this card, and then at the end of the month, you just pay this lump sum over to Cape Consumers, and that's it. But now, if you are very disciplined, then it can work. But of course, we also just maxed out the Cape Consumers card. We bought our fuel on Cape Consumers. When we wanted to buy luxuries, we would look for the shops that were also part of the partnerships with Cape Consumers, and we would buy luxuries and everything that we needed until we were basically just living from month to month. So there we have it. Our house had to be paid. Rates were going up. I'm talking now the early 2000s. Rates were going up. Our home loan was more expensive than what we paid for when we took out the home loan because of the increase in interest rates. Then, of course, I had all these store cards, and we had the Cape Consumer cards, and life is just very expensive. And then, of course, there came a time when we realized that we have to take stock of where we are. And that is when I started what I call the envelope system. In fact, my friend she still teases me today about the envelope system. Because in our day, back in the day, we didn't have debit orders, right? We only had things called stop orders. So you couldn't sign a debit order and say that the money, you want that money to go over the end of the month or close to the end of the month or the first of the new month or so. We really had to either sign a stop order, which I wasn't prepared to do, except for our mortgage bond, we signed a stop order. But the other accounts, we had to literally withdraw the money from the bank and then go and pay your accounts. Okay? So, what I did to help us manage our debt was I wrote down every single debt. I wrote the Edgar's, we owe Edgar's 2,000 Rand. We owe Truworth's 2,500, for example. We owe Cape Consumers 10,200 Rand. And then I captured all that debt so that we could see practically how much we owed. And I'm telling you guys, I'm sure some of you have experienced that when you see your debt in real numbers on a page, that is the time when you want to freak out, when you want to become depressed. But one needs that shock. So when you see that you've got all these store accounts, plus the Cape Consumers, plus your home loan, and then you look and you see 90% of what you have as debt are things that you can live without to a large extent. There are certain essential accounts like your rates, like your home loan, your electricity, and so forth. But we tend to, people like me and probably like you, we tend to see our Edgar's accounts the same as we would see our home loan accounts. And it's not the same, right? So we need to learn how to differentiate between what are the key accounts, what are the important debts that we have, and those are the good debts, and then of course what are the bad debts. And when you write down every single debt like that, I can tell you, you will probably have a hissy fit in a way because you will be shocked to see how much debt you really have. And that's the process I had to go through, right? So what I would do is, like I said, I would write it down and then I would add up all the debt that we had. And often I had to put the page down and then just go and relax somewhere, sit and just breathe and tell myself, yes, it is a horrible experience to see that you have gotten so out of control. But once you have everything written down, now you know how much you owe, and now you can decide, now I'm going to work out a plan on how to pay my debt. And I'm telling you, it works. It definitely works because that 2,500 Rand that I owed a retail store just because I wanted the latest top or the suit that I could wear to work is now costing me far more, but I had to bring down that debt. And so, of course, if you want to, you can add a time frame to it. But what I did was just say, right, let's say the Edgar's account, I owed them 2,500, for example, then I must give them a monthly repayment of 300 Rand. And so it would take me, say, 12 months to pay off the Edgar's account. So I also on the page wrote out the account, how much I owe, how much the minimum payment was, and how many months it would take me to settle that account. So I did that with all our accounts. Of course, it's very important when you do something like this, and I was very religious about this, is that I did ring fence some money that we could spend on luxuries. For example, for a treat, you want to eat something nice, you want to have takeaway, so I would actually budget for that. You want to go and catch a movie sometime, so I would actually put it in the budget because I saw that as essential. Okay, now I'm not suggesting that everything just ran smoothly and that every month I was able to be on the mark, paying as I should. Of course, I also fell off the wagon. I slipped up here and there because sometimes there just wasn't money to pay Edgar's the full amount, and then the least I could do was to put something and not skip that account. And so it took us about, I would say, about 2 years to really get our debt under the belt so that we could really feel that now we were in control of our finances. That it's going to take long, but there is an end date. There definitely is an end date. And once you have that sorted, you can say, right, so for the next 2, 3, 4 years, I know we are really just going to live on the bare minimum, so long as we cover all our debt and we are not accumulating more bad debt. You will find at the end of the day that you will overcome. You will start building a better credit record for yourself. It's not the end of the world. It's not the end of the world. All of us, or many of us, go through that bad phase in our lives, okay? But we will arise like the eagle. We will arise. So if there's anybody out there who would like to share this story with us to tell us, how did you manage your debt? In my day, like I say, back in the day, I used the envelope system because we didn't have debit orders, right? Today, you can sign a debit order. So you can let the money leave your account before you even tempted to touch your money, right? So you can sign up debit orders. If you know you must pay your store account, sign a debit order, fill in a debit order, and every month, if you get paid on the 25th, you make sure that on the 26th that the money is deducted. Try to use systems that will help you to pay your debt and lessen the temptation to leave it in your account. We all struggle, we all go through phases, and sometimes we must let people know it's not only those who are earning very little who experience debt problems, right? It's people, even like me now that I'm much older, I teach my kids and I help them to understand that they need to learn from our mistakes. They need to learn from our mistakes. So the idea of making this video is just to encourage you again that if you have bad debt, if you have a very low credit score, don't give up hope, because debt is not meant to take away your life. Your debt is a lesson. Your debt is a lesson that was put out there now, created by you, but also to help you understand that you need to grow and you need to work better with your money and you need to have a better relationship with your money and you need to do financial planning so that you can make make new decisions and better decisions in the future, like buying your own home. Let's see each other again next time. Share and like the video and do encourage me to make more videos like this. See you next time.